Welcome to the dark, haunting shores of terror. In this video, we unravel 3 bone-chilling stories from the depths of the ocean's mysteries. The eerie tolling of the cursed, drowning bell at Blackwater Cove. The vengeful spirits watching over Dead Man's Reef. The insatiable hunger of the sand feeder at Devil's Dune. Each story will take you deeper into the unknown, where every wave carries a secret, and every shadow hides a nightmare. Are you ready to face the horrors that await? Stay with us until the end if you dare. Story 1. The Drowning Bell. Emma and her friends had been planning this beach trip for months. They arrived at Blackwater Cove, a secluded beach famous for its eerie black sand and jagged cliffs. The locals warned them about swimming too far out. They spoke in hushed tones about the bell. Dismissing it as a myth, the group set up camp and dove into the water. Late that afternoon, while snorkeling near the cove, Emma heard a faint, metallic ringing. It seemed to come from deep beneath her. She surfaced and called out to her friends, but they hadn't heard it. Curiosity gnawed at her, so she rented a diving kit from a nearby shack, despite the shopkeeper's pale warning. Don't follow the sound. That night, as the group sat around the campfire, the sound returned. A low, mournful ringing echoed through the air, sending shivers down their spines. It's just the wind, one friend joked, but Emma wasn't convinced. Determined to find the source, Emma slipped into the water before dawn. The sea was unnaturally calm, the black sand shifting beneath her feet. As she descended, the ringing grew louder, vibrating through her bones. She discovered a massive, rusted bell partially buried in the ocean floor. Its surface was etched with strange, archaic symbols. Emma reached out to touch it. The instant her fingers brushed the metal, a cold shock coursed through her. She suddenly felt the weight of thousands of lives, all drowned, their memories flooding her mind. When she tried to ascend, her body froze. She couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Back at the beach, her friends woke to find her missing. One of them, Jake, decided to search for her. As he waded into the water, he saw something glinting in the shallows. Emma's diving mask, cracked and bloodied. Jake convinced the others to help him investigate. Equipped with diving gear, they ventured into the depths. When they found the bell, its sound grew deafening. Suddenly, shadowy figures emerged from the darkness. Their faces were twisted in torment, eyes hollow, bodies bloated and decayed. The group tried to flee, but the shadows grabbed one of them, dragging him into the abyss. On the surface, Jake and the remaining friends scrambled back to shore, but they weren't safe. That night, the ringing followed them, louder and closer. One by one, they began to disappear, vanishing into the black sand or the inky waves. Emma's voice, distorted and ghostly, echoed through the air. The bell tolls for you. By morning, only the rusted bell remained, now sitting on the shore as if it had always been there, waiting for its next victim. Story 2. The Watchers of Dead Man's Reef. Dead Man's Reef was a paradise by day but an enigma by night. Kayla and her boyfriend, Marcus, rented a beachfront cabin to escape the chaos of city life. On their first night, Kayla noticed shadows moving along the reef. She assumed it was wildlife, but something about their human-like movements unsettled her. The next morning, while kayaking, Marcus found a rusted anchor tangled in seaweed. Carved into it were the words, "We see you." He laughed it off, but Kayla couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. That evening, while stargazing, Marcus suddenly stood up and pointed toward the reef. Dozens of figures stood in the water, motionless, their eyes glowing faintly. When Kayla looked again, they were gone. Desperate for answers, Kayla visited the local library. The librarian hesitated before sharing the legend of Dead Man's Reef. Decades ago, a ship carrying prisoners wrecked on the reef. The prisoners tried to swim to shore but were left to drown by the guards, who feared they'd be overrun. Locals believed their spirits still lingered, seeking vengeance. That night, Marcus vanished. Kayla found his footprints leading to the water's edge, ending abruptly. As she searched frantically, the figures reappeared, surrounding her. One of them, its face half decayed but unmistakably Marcus. Whispered, "You should have left." Kayla tried to flee, but the shadows pursued her. Every path led her back to the reef. Exhausted and terrified, she collapsed on the sand. When she woke, it was morning, and the beach was deserted. She drove to the next town, but no one believed her story. Weeks later, her photo appeared in a local newspaper. Woman found drowned near Dead Man's Reef. Tourists still visit, unaware of the watchers lurking just beneath the surface, waiting for their next victim. Story 3, The Sand Feeder. Logan and his buddies were thrill seekers, always looking for the next adrenaline rush. When they heard about Devil's Dune, a massive sandbank that appeared and disappeared with the tides, they couldn't resist exploring it. As they set up their tents, an old man approached, warning them, "The dune's alive. It feeds." The group laughed it off, chalking it up to local superstition. That night, Logan awoke to a strange sensation. The sand beneath him seemed to pulse, like a heartbeat. He dismissed it as a dream until he saw something moving, a large, undulating shape beneath the sand. The next morning, one of the group members, Rachel, was missing. Her tent was intact, but her sleeping bag was filled with sand. They searched the dune, finding strange patterns carved into the ground, resembling feeding marks. Logan felt the sand shift again, and this time he saw it. A massive maw opening and closing just below the surface. Panic set in, but the tide had come in, cutting them off from the mainland. One by one, the group was dragged into the sand by unseen forces. Their screams echoed as the dune consumed them. Logan, the last survivor, tried to outsmart the creature. He climbed to the highest point of the dune and set it on fire using their camping fuel. The sand writhed and screamed, but it wasn't enough. The fire extinguished itself, and the dune swallowed him whole. When the tide receded the next morning, the beach was pristine, as if nothing had happened. The old man watched from a distance, shaking his head. "The dune always wins," he muttered before walking away. To this day, thrill seekers disappear on Devil's Dune, their belongings left behind, their bodies never found. Thank you for journeying into the depths of terror with us. From the cursed bell of Blackwater Cove to the vengeful spirits of Dead Man's Reef and the sinister hunger of Devil's Dune, we hope these stories left you chilled to the bone. If you enjoyed these haunting tales, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more spine-tingling horror stories. Share this video with fellow thrill seekers and let us know in the comments which story sent shivers down your spine the most. Remember, the ocean holds many secrets, and some are better left undiscovered. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and beware the shadows. See you in the next nightmare.